So about a month ago, I was lucky enough to go down to Walt Disney World. We went to Epcot, we went to World Showcase, we went to the Canada Pavilion. We were very lucky and got into the restaurant in Canada. It's called LeCellier. It's French. Check it out. It's a great steakhouse. I started with a bowl of soup that blew my mind. And my immediate thought was, I have to figure out how to make this soup and make it at home. So I came home, I made it a couple times. Now I'm gonna show you how to make it because everybody deserves to try this rich, creamy, cheesy, out of this world delicious soup. So sit tight, I'm gonna show you how, and here we go. I'm Dave, you're watching Dave's Taste Buds, and welcome back.
Let's do this.
All right, like most cream-based or milk-based, dairy-based soups, you're gonna wanna have a roux. So that's gonna be developed in the pan. Like I said, it's a brand new crock pot, brand new Dutch oven to me. So we're gonna check it out. First in, got some bacon. Nothing wrong with starting with bacon. What we're gonna want to do is we're just gonna wanna render down this bacon fat. We're just gonna keep it moving. We don't want it to brown, we don't want it to sear, we don't want it to really caramelize because we want the soup to be on the lighter side. We want it to be rich, creamy, not white, but pretty white. And if you sit there and if you let this cook down and sear and crisp up, because later on we're gonna blend all this up with the immersion blender, it'll turn your soup a little bit darker than it should. So the first step, like I said, we're just gonna let this bacon render down. Then we're gonna be adding our diced onion, diced celery. We're gonna put our butter in there. We're gonna cook that a little bit. We're gonna throw in our flour to develop our roux. Chicken stock goes in. Let that simmer, thicken up a little bit. Milk, Canadian lager. I went with Moosehead. I got 5 of them in the fridge. In fact, 4 of them in the fridge because it's Saturday and I've already had 1. So only 4 left in the fridge.
That's math.
1 here, that goes in cheese. Oh, it's gonna be so good. We're gonna let this render down, and the bacon fat is going to act as our oil. You notice you don't need to put oil in the pan if you're gonna start with something like bacon. It's very loud, but it's not too loud. So while we're gonna let this cook down, you're gonna wanna stick around to the end to see how rich and thick this is, cheesy and creamy and delicious. While we're waiting for this to render down, I need you to do me a favor. I want you to take a look at this statistic. And this statistic shows me that a lot of people are watching my videos, which I greatly appreciate, but they're not clicking that little subscribe button. Do me a huge favor, like and subscribe, comment, let me know, you know, you're a Disney fan, not a Disney fan, maybe you're a huge Disney adult, maybe you want to see me cook other Disney stuff. I mean, I've thought about doing, a lot of different Disney recipes. Let me know. Most importantly, subscribe. It really helps me out. It supports the channel. I really want to get this train rolling, get this ball rolling, get everything in place to get this channel really just taken off. So, do me a favor, subscribe. Appreciate it. So, we're going to let this render down for a couple minutes, and then we're going to move forward from there. So, sit tight. All right, as you can see, we got our bacon cooking down. It's looking good. It's right where we want it. Not too crisp. Not overdone. Starting with our onions. About a medium white onion. Diced up. Not too small, not too big. Celery. 2 stalks. Also diced up. Like I said, to build our roux, 3 tablespoons of butter going in. I don't know how you could go wrong. Everything starts with bacon, onion, celery, and a little bit of butter in there too. So we're going to stir this around. We're just going to cook this till the butter melts. We're going to soften the onions a little bit. We're going to soften the celery down a little bit. Because like I said, all this is going to get cooked down. And then we're going to blend it up just to make it even creamier, smoother I should say too. You don't have to do that step. I mean, sometimes you like a little bit of chunk in there. That would work too. Ugh. If this comes out half as good as it is in the restaurant, I was blown away. And I had been eating and drinking all day around Epcot. Mexico, went from Mexico to China to the Americas. I think Germany's in there too. Gotta grab a beer at Germany. Just swing around. I think we hit France and then we passed it over in England and then ended up down in Canada. So, I mean, I had been eating and drinking all day and this was still the most delicious soup I've had in a long, long time. So like I said, I'm just gonna let this cook down a little bit. I'm just gonna let it get soft. Then we'll go ahead, we'll throw in our flour and make this roux. We'll really get things rolling. So give me another couple minutes. If you haven't, hit subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. I really, truly wish you could smell this. Oh, my God. All right. So we've got our onions, our celery, butter, bacon, all cooked exactly where we want. So like I said, we're going to build that roux. This is a half cup flour. Now if you miss anything, the recipe's going to be down in the description below. So all you have to do is go down there and check it out. I do like to kind of tell you what's coming, kind of what we just did, what's coming up next. It sounds a little repetitive, but I only do that so that it kind of gets in your head how long things take, what's coming up next, helps you remember. You may not know it, but that's what it's doing. So we've thrown in our half cup of flour. It's starting to immediately grab onto that butter. It's going to make that thickening agent. It's going to thicken up our chicken stock and then our milk. So once you put this flour in here, you're going to want to have this on like just medium heat, just barely medium heat, and you're going to want to keep this thing stirring constantly because if you stop stirring this, it could burn, and then once something like this, once your flour, once your roux gets scorched, there's no turning back. So just make sure, just keep it moving.
Okay, so just keep stirring like this.
We're going to do this probably about 3 or 4 minutes. Just going to make sure it's all really incorporated in there. So give me a couple of minutes and then it's chicken stock time. Can't wait to put the beer in. Check back in now, 2 minutes. Okay, it's been about 4 minutes. We've been stirring this up. Now, 2 cups chicken stock, whisk, chicken stock goes in. We're immediately going to crank up that heat because we're going to want to boil this. We're going to want to boil it for just about a minute. And then we're just going to lower the heat to a simmer, and then we're just going to chill for like 12 to 15 minutes. Let it thicken up. As you can see, it's already, even after, 30 seconds, it's starting to thicken up. So if I stop stirring, this is going to start to bubble, it's going to start to simmer. But we don't want to burn that flour. It's pulling all that bacon flavor off the bottom of the pan. Oh, God, it's going to be so good. All right, I want this simmer on a really low heat. Just let it, you can see it. You can see it just kind of, sort of bubbles to it. I'm going to turn this heat down so low. I'm going to let this chill out here. I am going to stir it occasionally. Again, you don't want it to scorch at the bottom. But I think we're in good shape already. So at this point, I'm going to let this chill for 10 minutes and then we're going to come back. So sit tight. All right, we're back. It's been 10 minutes. Simmering. It's really thickened up nice. What we're going to do now, 2 cups milk. I use 2%. I think 2% is good. I think whole milk might be a little bit too much. 1% not enough. And skim. Skim can jump out the window for all I care. I'm going to stir this in gently. has thinned it out quite a bit. So, what we're gonna do now is this needs to simmer again for another 15 minutes. This is the important part. Do not let it boil once you've added your milk.
Don't do it.
Splash myself. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put my apron on, that's why. I'm being punished for forgetting my apron. So, like I said, we're gonna let this simmer for another 15 minutes, maybe 13 at this point. So instead of burning through all this butane on here, I'm gonna pop it onto my range top. I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna come back together and we're gonna build it. Then we're gonna taste it, and it's gonna be delicious. So, sit tight. All right, so let's pull this off the heat. See, let's get hot. It's off the heat. It's still very warm. It's been simmering for 12 minutes. It smells so good. But now, it's about to get even better. The star of the show, shredded white sharp cheddar. This is about a pound. It was supposed to be a pound, but let me tell you a quick story as I was grading it, because if you're gonna go through the process of making this, don't just buy store-bought pre-shredded stuff, because if you notice how it doesn't stick together, it's because they coat that stuff with this white chemically type stuff, powdery stuff that keeps it from clumping together and sticking.
Gross.
So get yourself a pound of white cheddar and grate it yourself. While I was doing that, the grater stopped and slipped a little bit, and the last probably ounce and a half, 2 ounces of cheddar from the block flew out of my hand, hit the counter, and hit the floor. So we're getting 14 ounces instead of 16. It's off the heat, putting this in, get every last bit of it. I'm gonna stir this in. Oh. Immediately, all you can smell is that melting cheddar cheese. Now I know you're watching this episode and you're like, Dave, why do you say cheddar the way you say cheddar? It's because I'm from New England, Massachusetts, just south of Boston. I have the accent. What can I tell you? Cheddar, white cheddar cheese. I don't know how the Canadians say it, but it's delicious. Cheese has gone in. Worcestershire sauce, 1.5 teaspoons. Tabasco sauce. It calls for a teaspoon. I was surprised it was in there too, but it's in there. And now I thought this would go in earlier, kind of cook down the beer, but it doesn't. It goes in now. It's not a lot. Half a cup, a quarter cup, sorry. I completely forgot how much was in there, and I actually had to check the recipe. What? Quarter cup, I can't find my quarter cup already. Oh, I think I used it. Canadian lager. Turns out it's really good. Turns out I'm a lager person and not so much a IPA. That's all. Goes in there. Quarter cup. Oh yeah. You're supposed to put it in when it's warm, so I did. So that's warm and it's still delicious. Moose head, check it out. Stir that in. That's all of our ingredients. There's not a lot to it. But it's a process. Like any creamy soup, you gotta be careful of it. And this is the right thickness. I would honestly like to see it a tiny bit thicker, but if you needed to thicken it up, you could always use a mixture of equal parts butter melted down and flour, If you wanted to make a little bit of a roux, thicken it back up a little bit, you could do that. If you need to thin it down, let's say it's too thick and it's just, you know, it's just too thick, get yourself a little milk, just make sure it's warm. Don't add cold milk to it. Warm it up a little bit, get it the consistency you want. This looks good. Now, the fun part. Immersion blender. You could also use a regular blender if you wanted to, but any reason I can bust this thing out. And like I said earlier, you really don't even have to. If you like it to have a little bit of a chunk to it, that's fine. But I'm gonna smooth it down nice. See, let's look at our thickness. Yeah. Nice. Oh. Oh. That's so good. All right. Let me get this into a bowl. All right, so I've got our Canadian Cheddar Cheese Soup in a bowl. I'm just gonna top it with a couple of scallions just for garnish. Oh, guys, this looks so good. Look at this. Look at this. Can you see this? I hope you can see this. Rich, thick. I did hit it with a little salt and pepper. Can't go wrong there. Wow. That cheddar cheese just comes up. Nice smack in the face. Look at that. See how it's coating the spoon? Ah, that's what you want. It's so good, guys. Check it out. My apologies. Hold on. You gotta make this soup. So, before we go, a little Easter egg for you. If you noticed, in the first segment, in the opener, I was wearing the apron. And then I mentioned mid-episode that I needed to put the apron on, and now I'm wearing it again. I got an industry secret for you. I shoot my sequences out of order. I shoot the beginning last, and then I shoot this part second to last. So anyway, Canadian Cheddar Cheese Soup, Moosehead Canadian Lager, get yourself some, make the soup, get to Epcot to the Canadian Pavilion and check out LeCellier when you get a chance, and after you're done doing all that, go cook something.